A chief diversity officer was a sticking point between city councilors and the mayor in Springfield. Councilors thought it was needed, but Mayor Domenic Sarno did not agree. Sarno eventually agreed to the post last year and named Talia Gee an attorney to the role. I sat down with Gee to find out why she wanted to take the position.
I had been a lawyer before accepting this role, and I was a lawyer representing plaintiffs that are suing their employer. I also worked defending companies from lawsuits against their employees. And on both sides of the V, I found that I was really not making a difference. Like I was putting out that little fire for the moment, but I wasn't able to really make systemic change in those roles. And so when this opportunity presented itself, I was like, oh, I can finally make the systemic change that I want that hopefully alleviates issues for both sides, right? So employees are not having issues, so they're not suing their company, and I don't have to defend them, and then I don't have to defend the company when they're being sued. This is great, and it's been that role.
Were the issues that were you dealing with the issue of diversity or inclusion in some of those lawsuits that you were handling before you came to this position? Was it coming up?
Yes. So I have only practiced labor and employment law throughout my career as a lawyer. So 99.9% of my cases were about diversity, inclusion, race discrimination, sexual harassment, policies that were impacting some differently than they were impacting other groups. That was all I was doing. And
is there a specific issue that comes up more often than not in that kind of arena?
Yes. Usually I always equate it to sort of an issue with your spouse where you're fighting about money, and then your spouse leaves the dishes in the sink, and then their spouse also leaves the dirty clothes on the floor. And so you start fighting about the dirty clothes on the floor and about the dishes in the sink, but your real issue is the money.
Yeah.
And that 99% of my cases on both sides of the V, that has been the issue where something has sort of started off small or people are fighting, they're kind of nitpicking about all these other little things when there's really a big issue like a problematic policy or a problematic supervisor.
For the job itself here in Springfield, it's to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in hiring and career development. Can you give maybe one example of how that's taken shape in the year that you've been in the position?
Yes. So the position really focuses on, like you said, in recruitment and also on retention as well. So for recruitment, I've been doing grassroots efforts, reaching out to those small pockets of diverse or underrepresented groups within the city, as well as outside the city that can provide great candidates. And then I've also been working on connecting with those larger organizations like area colleges honestly throughout the country, trying to recruit diverse candidates.
What's some feedback that you've received from either of those two pockets?
Either we never knew that the job existed for the city, so we never knew that this was a function that the city had on its staff, or I never thought about working for the city before.
Interesting. So you're very well aware of this, I'm sure, and I want to remind the folks at home that this idea of a chief diversity and inclusion officer in the city of Springfield was a hot button one at one point in time. The mayor initially did not like wasn't open to the concept, saying that there was already a position in the city that sort of filled the role. Councilor Marcus Williams disagreed, among with others, and really pushed for this. And then when Dan Hall retired, who was the person who the mayor felt was holding that role, the mayor opened up to the idea. When you came into the position, did you feel that tension? Was there tension around the job?
I wouldn't say tension, I'd more so say conversation. And the conversation was exactly what you described, which was the, I hate to kind of say it, but like the Jerry Springer or the drama of the political process and the conversation that happened before I was appointed. To be very frank with you, I didn't engage in it. I was appointed to do a job, and I've been wanting to do that. So I've been connecting with, obviously I report to the mayor. I report to him and have daily contact with him. And then I've also been connecting with the city councilors who have, who were pushing for that position. I've had meetings with those who have invited me to meetings, and I look forward to working with everyone.
Yeah, and that actually, Marcus Williams, Councilor Williams, was on the program recently, and he said something very similar, that, you've been in the job about a year, and that he looks forward to, in the new year, kind of having periodic meetings with you to get a sense of where you're at and maybe how the council can help with the position or help assist in your role. Do you have thoughts on what you might say to them in that first meeting? Here's a way that we can help this job.
Yes, so I think I would start off with what I've been doing thus far, what I've been doing in the last year, and then welcoming ideas. If they have other organizations that they think I should connect with for jobs, if they have other ways that we can work on retention efforts, I'd certainly be open to hearing it. That's the one thing that I've been doing for the past year, is really being a sponge, hearing everyone's ideas, including everyone's gripes. The best way that we can focus on retention is to hear from the employees who are in those positions. What are their concerns? What do they want to see? So I've been doing really grassroots, informal meetings with employees here and there, saying, hey, tell me what it is that you think about. Tell me what it is. How can we get you to stay here? How can we get you to, apply for different positions or move around the city? How can we retain you as an employee?
Yeah, whether it's that upward mobility
Yes.
or a new role that an employee sees for themselves.
Yes.
When you're having those individual discussions, is there something globally that's coming up as, a perennial sticking point, or something that they feel like the city's doing really well? Either way.
No, it's. I think they really are sort of kind of having the same reaction that people have outside the organization, which is, I didn't know the city had a position that did that. That's probably the common theme that I've seen.
Something that's been happening over the past year with this particular group of city councilors and the mayor, there have been those sticking points, whether it's over the Safe Cities ordinance, which was ultimately passed, or more recently regarding refugees, and city councilors want to see the city sign on and say we're a place that's open to seeing refugees. The mayor says he's not going to be open to that concept. Have you heard from employees or potential employees that this is a concern for them, that this tension's a problem, it gives them pause?
I have not heard that from employees. I think employees have not spoken to me about those political issues. And I don't think, those are political issues that I'm not a politician is the reality. I'm not an elected official. So those decisions that are made are not really within my purview.
For you, a year in the position, looking ahead to 2020, do you have a sense of where you'd like to take the job in year 2?
Yes. So in year 1, I've focused on just kind of figuring out where all the pieces lay and put them together as a puzzle. In year 2, one of the things that I'd really like to work on is developing employee resource groups. I have been I wouldn't say shadowing, but been looking at how Mass Mutual does what they call their business resource groups, which are essentially the same thing as employee resource groups. And I've been looking at what they've been doing. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's a great way for employees to connect outside of sitting next to someone as at a cubicle. And so I think that that will be a great opportunity for us to focus on retention. I also want to focus on developing a solid internship program that will act as a feeder system for potential employees.